With so many options, why choose Arizona State University?
For me, the only online option was ASU because of the quality. Their faculty was really involved with their students and care about your personal journey. The dedication to my personal development from my professors, that's been extremely valuable to me.
Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online. That's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Are you ready? What? I said, are you ready? Yeah! Can't steal it! Woo! Wheel and deal it! The cream of the crop! Nobody does it better. I got 141 and 2/3 chance of winning. But brother, I am bad and they know I'm bad. I'm the man the hour, the man with the power. You speak to me, scholar. It's showtime, folks!
Welcome to the Grill Out. From the heart of Shillian, West Virginia, here's your host, Hollywood Jeff Petty.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grill Out. I'm your host, Hollywood Jeff Petty, and I'm joined here with the reflection of perfection.
That's right. I am back, ladies and gentlemen. The reflection of perfection, Jason Lykens, is here to make something good out of this.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Lykens.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
But we do have a guest here with us. Founded in 2017, Real Shoot Wrestling is based out of Fairmont, West Virginia. It is one of the more active promotions in our state. They run shows in different parts of West Virginia and occasionally in Ohio, and have also done some shows in Pennsylvania. They have a show this Saturday, June 21st, at the Go Mart Ball Park in Charleston. Joining me right now is the owner and booker of RSW, Tim Cross. How you doing, Tim?
How you doing? Nice. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah,
appreciate having you here. Real quick, this is just one question I like to ask everybody, and it seems like a very cliche question.
How tall are you?
I mean, you could let us know that.
I'm short.
Okay.
I'm like 5'11".
Okay, listen, Tim. You're saying 5'11" and you're short. I'm shorter than that, so don't be saying you're short. Come on.
My bad.
Listen, I'm a crisp 5'6", so
hey, I'm just around a lot of wrestlers, so I'm used to looking up.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's very true. I'm sure you feel vertically challenged around especially certain wrestlers.
Yeah, and we in fact had one come in last month and wrestle our internet champion. He was literally 7 feet tall, like exactly 7 foot on the dot. And what's funny is he kind of got there late, so no one got to see him. And then when everybody saw him come out, it was like, oh my, like who's this? Like where did this guy come from? Because our internet champion's a big boy anyway. So whenever he came out and he was looking up at him, whenever they stood in the ring, everybody was kind of wow. And I got some text messages saying, who the heck's this guy? And stuff like that. So, I'm definitely used to looking up to him. So I understand what it's like, man. Don't worry.
From my understanding, 7 feet tall, you can't teach that.
Well, at least that's what we've been taught.
Yeah.
I guess.
I don't know.
They've taught us that you can't teach that.
Yes.
No. And
So wait a minute. I don't know. Did we learn? So were we actually taught that?
I don't know. I know that.
I don't know how to go with that now.
Yeah, I don't know.
We are a bit of a conundrum there. We'll have to circle back to that.
Yeah.
Circle back. Why'd the chicken cross the road?
Yeah, we're still trying to figure that out. We're still trying to figure out how many licks it takes to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop.
Which came first, the chicken or the turnbuckle?
There you go.
The turnbuckle.
Yeah. But real quick, what was your first exposure to wrestling? Have you been a lifelong wrestling fan?
Yeah, what got you into it?
Yeah.
Basically, I was, I'm from West Virginia, the northern part of West Virginia anyway. So, 605s with grandma on Saturdays was a big thing. And then, Bobby the Brain and Gorilla Monsoon on Monday nights was, a big thing for me too. So I actually got, I had both. So I was watching both. My dad was a big, WWF fan, and my grandma was a big WCW fan. So I was watching both all the time, basically from the beginning. So, that's been mine, is just basically my family. Probably the easiest way to answer that. Between my dad and my grandma, that was definitely my way of getting into it visually as a kid. So that's always been, but, because of it, that's why I've also always been more WCW. Okay. I also remember watching WCCW because it would be at like 4:00 on ESPN way back in the 90s every day.
Yeah.
So I was just like zoomed to it because it was just, that's where, you got your first view of the Freebirds and Von Erichs, and then like all the guys that later became a big deal in other places, so that was always really cool.
Yeah, there was someone who got their start in WCCW. His name is Sean Hickenbottom. I don't know whatever happened to him, but I think he became...
I think he changed his name.
Did he? I think he could have been good. I saw him and could have been something.
Yeah, I think he's doing kind of well for himself these days.
So WCW, who was your favorite go-to there?
Okay, so I really like the question. Oddly enough, always was Arn Anderson.
Yes.
He was my guy. I was always into Arn, and then I was always into and this is what's funny is like, whenever New Japan became like a big deal, and it was like, cool to like him, and then it was like super cool to like him, but then it wasn't cool to like it. But like I've always been into like Japanese wrestling in some way. So like for me, it was my big feuds that I remember growing up as a kid, like in WCW, that I was like always pumped about seeing was Arn and Muda and Pillman and Liger.
Yes.
Like that, those were my go-to feuds when everybody else was like, Sting's doing this and Flair's doing that. And I was just always like, what is Arn and Pillman and Muda and Liger doing? That was always my thing.
You can't go wrong with Double A.
No.
The
best spine buster ever in the history of the business, Arn Anderson.
Yes.
Hands down. And actually, the other day, I was watching an old WCW. I sat down and watched Wrestle War 1990.
There you go.
It was on YouTube because they have the WCW channel there now, and you can.
Oh yeah, they got a bunch of stuff on there now.
They did have like a long, a stream going where they were just playing reruns, just one after the other. But I guess they stopped it because I was getting ready to turn it on and have it in the background. But I was like, okay, I'll turn on Wrestle War, and then I see Arn come out, and sometimes I forget how much Arn and Ole look alike, even though they're not related in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
They walk out, I'm like, wait a minute. I had to take a double take.
Well, and also how Arn Anderson has looked like he was 40 years old, even whenever he was 20.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. Like, honestly, for him, the dude's not aged.
No.
In the face, he's looked the exact same.
See, I
remember.
I was always a WCW person. Like, I loved WCW more than WWF. Also, let me ask you this. Do you think it's crazy that it's been WWE longer than it's been WWF?
Ugh.
Yeah. There you go.
It's weird hearing it like that.
Did your hip just break? Mine did.
No, but that weird shiver you get after you sneeze and you feel like, oh, man, I'm going to get a cold?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what just happened. I was like, man, don't say that again.
I'll try not to.
But yeah, I mean, at this point, it's getting to where it's like, yeah, that makes sense now. But I mean, at the same time, with us being fans at our age, I mean, look at all the stuff we've went through and seen at this point. I mean, at one time, like it's always been WWE on top, but at one time, there was like. It felt like more going on. than it does right now. Like, of course, you got AEW, you got the companies, but at the same time, like, it just felt bigger when it was like WCCW and AWA and WWF and NWA and, that stuff. To me, it just felt bigger. But, at the same time, it's probably because I was a kid and I didn't know nothing. So, things change once you start to understand what's going on behind the scenes. So,
yeah, the rose-colored glasses.
Oh, absolutely. I was going to say, like, when I was younger, I mean, I grew up at the tail end of the Attitude Era going into the Ruthless Aggression Era. And I thought the greatest reign was Triple H's Reign of Terror. And then I get older, I'm like, oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I mean, unless you've done it, you don't really realize it until you go back and do it. You're just like, man, I love this stuff. This is the stuff that, that I remember watching as a kid. And then you go back and watch it and you're like, ugh, like, I liked this. Like, I liked, there was probably one good match an episode, but the only thing that were keeping us there was like, who knows what's going to happen next, and that kind of mentality. When you go back and look at it now, it's like I should probably go back farther because I'll probably like it better. That's just with me though. But I've always felt that being a true wrestling fan, the Attitude Era was the boom, but at the same time, for wrestling itself, there was probably about an hour worth of it that was good every week, and there was 8 hours, 9 hours on TV. So
yeah, the Attitude Era was more story than substance.
Yeah, oh yeah.
It was.
Oh yeah.
The one thing that I can say, in my opinion, about the Attitude Era, at least with WWE, is they tried to get everyone on the show. Like, everyone was doing something.
Yeah, exactly. Dean Ambrose said it best. I watched the show where he was just like, there were just so many people back then, and there was just, there was people in the back, and they'd just be like, I got bread. Well, you got peanut butter. Well, I got jelly. You want to make some sandwiches? Like, that's the best way he put it, because it was just like faction on faction on faction. It's like, yeah, this guy's in a singles match, but each guy has 3 or 4 guys hanging out outside the ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like going and see, Lil Wayne in concert. There's 12 other people on stage.
Yeah.
That's basically what it's like, because, everybody, you wanted to get everybody on TV, and you wanted to, that way, no matter what you liked, you knew you would at least see the guy you like. I always hated the oddities, but all of my friends, they always talk about how much they love the oddities, like they loved what they were. And, that was something that they watched for. That was something I went to the bathroom during. You know what I mean?
The saddest thing about the oddities was that the best one on there, John Tenta, Golga, never really wrestled.
Yeah. Yeah, but at the same time, was his body even able to really wrestle at that time?
Yeah.
Good point.
So, mainly I think they were just doing, a good guy a favor, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was funny if you watch that behind, that Dark Side of the Ring. Like, he really wasn't that bad. They should have probably did that on, like, the natural disasters, not so much him, because, like, that one was just like a heartbreaking story. There was no, like, real dark side other than just, like, the guy was dealt a crappy hand, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a buddy of mine brought that up to me, and I was like, yeah, I know. I felt like out of all the people, he didn't do anything bad. I don't really think he deserved a Dark Side of the Ring in that sense, compared to everybody else anyway.
Yeah, when they announced that episode, I kind of looked at it sideways. I was like, I don't know about that. I think we even talked about that on the show. Like, that one's kind of out of left field.
I feel like that one was just more informational than anything else, because there was a whole lot of people that were just like, heck, I didn't know that he was a sumo wrestler and did all that. I was like, I know he was a total, as they say, he was total, badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like, and when he came over, and it made more sense to me too, because as a kid, did you know where he came from? You know what I mean? Other than just seeing him on, WCW or WWE, depending on where you saw him at, because he was on both.
Yeah.
But, like, you didn't really know anything about him. But now, you do, and it's just like, wow, like I could have got behind this guy if they would have told me this part, but they didn't tell me this part, you know?
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. We're here sitting, talking with owner and booker of RSW, Tim Cross. You were talking a little bit about like how you look at it different once you're doing it. How long have you been involved with the wrestling business?
Going on 19 years at this point. Some way, shape, or form involved, either as someone that is wrestling or in the back helping out, to basically being an intern in a way, and just basically doing whatever somebody needs done. And then becoming the promoter, and then now an owner, and then it became a situation where I have somebody else, the promoter, and I now just book here. So basically the way it works is I book everything, but I have a promoter in Ohio, I have a promoter here, and there's actually two promoters in the state that I work with. And basically it's just RSW, and I book everything, and we just kind of rotate with it, and they make sure that each town gets flyered and promoted in.
So was it hard giving up promoting, like taking a step away from that to just be the booker, or were you glad to do that? Doing
it as long as I was, no, really, it's not, because it's one of those situations where I was taught, like, you do everything in house, and you know, so you don't worry about other people, and you don't worry about, you know, if you're doing it, you know, you're getting it done the way you want and done right. You know what I mean? And so it was hard in the sense of like doing it all, and then getting to the point to where I've kind of, I don't want to say like army, but built this group of guys that's just willing to help out around me. And it was hard to kind of give up jobs, like, because I used to, you know, make all the flyers. Well, I've now given that to somebody else. I used to promote everything. I've now given that to somebody else. You know, like, I'm still like the guy that does all the promos. Like, I edit everything, and I'm the social media guy. But now I've even like came out and then let the group know, like, hey, like, I'm gonna need some help. You know, I'm tired of dealing with social media. But now that's just made me. Once somebody else gets into a position, I then rotate into something else, because I just want to build this as big as possible, in the sense of, you know, there's going to be some kids that they're not going to be able to get to even a house show.
Yeah.
In today's day and age. So like, are they going to get to see WWE? No, but can they go to a local indie show? Yeah. So I'm going to give them the biggest and coolest looking situation they possibly can. Like, in comparison to everybody else, like, there's not a lot of people doing what we do, in the sense of the way our ring looks, the way our production looks, our entryway, the smoke, sound, lights, the way we film stuff, the way we put out promos. There's not a lot of people doing what we do, and I take a lot of pride in that. I mean, there is some, yes, but at the same time, like, it's just from it being like literally two people to where it's now like there's a whole crew. And we had, like, I was renting rings when we first started, and now we have 2 rings. We just bought a box truck this week, so it'll make moving and moving around stuff easier. So, like, it's watching this. I work so hard and keep it going because I treat this like a touring band instead of maybe like how other people treat it, like a once a month promotion. So the way we handle things, it's just, we're on the go so much. I kind of don't get to look at how much we've grown because we're moving so much, and it's sometimes like, you know, the time I've put in, it's definitely paying off and it tenfold. So, you know, because of that, at this point, you know, just being the booker after, you know, giving everybody their jobs, now it's weird because for the past couple shows, I've literally just, like, the people I've trained to take those positions, I've literally just been able to sit back and not only watch the show, but watch them do their jobs too. And it's just, it's kind of cool. It's like being a trainer to the extent of watching, your kids go out there and have a good match. But like, I'm now at the point to where I'm watching kids put on good matches, and I'm also watching my guys in the back do everything they're supposed to do, because, not everybody wants to be or has to be a wrestler to be in this business. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this, because, on your all's YouTube channel, it says we're not a pro wrestling company, we're a wrestling experience. Okay, so what are people experiencing when they go there? Tell us what are we going into?
It's the best way to go about it is like all the things that you remembered growing up on, or like you remember being talked about, or the good things that is just like when you go there, the ring's going to look a certain way. It's going to be uniformed. There's a logo in the middle. The entryway is going to look a certain way. There's going to be lights that are spinning and fog going off, and the announcer looks good. And it's instead of that whole, like, you come into a building, it smells bad, the ring looks like it's going to fall apart, there's a dog running around. You know what I mean? Like,
sadly, I do know what you mean.
I mean, if you went to any, there's promotions that I used to wrestle for that I would go, set up, and there'd be 3 or 4 dogs just running around. I'm just like, what are we doing? And that is what it is. And some people decide to do that, but with us, like, whenever you tell your buddies about wrestling, nobody really goes like, hey, man, well, this really crappy match happened, or, oh, well, these guys were really crappy and butt heads, and they did this, they did that. You don't ever go and talk about the bad stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, hey, I went there, and this 300-pound dude did a moonsault off the top, and then these guys had a really good match, and, there was this great women's match, and, there was a hardcore match and stuff like that. You talk about all the good things. Well, basically, we try to present all those good things all at once, to where it's not just going and watching a pro wrestling show. Like, it's kind of like going and watching the Savannah Bananas. It's like you're experiencing baseball, but you're experiencing all the fun parts of it.
Yeah, you're making memories.
Exactly. Yeah, like that, and that is basically what I got, like, what it did, well, why I even got in the first place for me was, like, obviously there needs to be money made, but that can't be the main focus, or, it's kind of those, you're not going to be able to see the forest from the trees, because you're not going to be able to get to where you really want to go. You got to understand the business side of things. I mean, obviously that's the main goal, and thankfully, that's where we are and have been for a couple of years now, to where, this is my job. Like, we do it so much that I don't have time for a legit, like, 9 to 5 because of doing this so much. So I'm very thankful in that sense.
Well,
go ahead.
We talked about, you getting into this. We talked about the past. So now kind of your future that you're doing is also respecting the past, because you've now started a Hall of Fame. So
yes.
How did this come about? Your all's first inaugural class consisted of adorable Danny Ray and the Urban Death Squad, Spider, Crawley, and Johnny Blast. What is the significance of these 3 being your inaugural inductees, and why did you go with them? For Real Shoot, the way we're doing it is we didn't want to just do one to do one, because, and I'm not trying to pull back any type of curtain here or anything, but there's some people that do Hall of Fames just to sell some tickets. I mean, it's kind of bullcrap in a sense. Like, they're just picking names. It's people that's never even worked for them before, and it's just, it's weird to me. So I didn't want to, like, just jump into doing it for no reason. But after a while, I mean, 8 years, so we got around to just, like, it got to the point to where it meant something, and it wasn't just to do a thing. You know what I mean? To me, in pro wrestling, like, if there's not a legit reason to do it,
it's like, why are you doing it? You know what I mean? So for me, it was also going to be, it's people that's worked for Real Shoot, but it's also people that they put an impact not on just wrestling, but like West Virginia wrestling. To me, Danny Ray gave me my first booking out of this area, like Hearts, West Virginia. So to that, I'll forever be grateful. And then the amount of people that he's touched in the sense of helped train the people, the person that he's trained has trained people. Like, his name is on a lot of people in West Virginia. A lot of people in West Virginia. And not even that, it's the quality of people in West Virginia to the Chance Prophet. And then Chance Prophet, there's also all the people that Chance has trained. And then there's, you know, he's worked with the likes of TJ Phillips and Jason Kincaid. And, you know, like, he's the reason why I met Ricky Morton for the first time. So, like, you know, in that sense, I'll forever be grateful to him. And he's worked for us before. So I figured, you know, if this was to have any credibility, you know, he would be definitely somebody that should be in it. And I have the utmost respect for him. So I couldn't see anybody else going in that sense. And then Urban Death Squad, I wanted to put a tag team in, but and they've worked for us and were our tag team champions. But I got to work with and know Johnny Blast a whole lot more than I did Spider Crowley. But I also know that if you're talking tag team wrestling in West Virginia, you can't not bring up Urban Death Squad. So definitely had a good fit there. But like in singles action, Johnny Blast was actually our first champion for Real Shoot Wrestling. He won it in a tournament. So him being our first champion and him being a tag champion for us and for him working for us as long as he did, and him being retired now, I figured there was no better tag team or also individual that would fit into our Hall of Fame than our very first champion and tag team champion, Johnny Blast and Spider Crowley.
So this was a legitimate tournament and not like a tournament that happened down in Rio de Janeiro.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was just tournament. It was a holiday Grand Prix. It was our first show, first year. The first 3 or 4 shows we did without like a champion. We just used some belts from other companies and got their champion some exposure. And then we decided, hey, we're going to keep doing this. So it's time to get some belts. So in January, we did a tournament for our main belt. We did a ladder match for our mid-card belt. And then we did a tag tournament in February for our tag belts.
All right. This Saturday, June 21st, RSW Grand Slam will be at the Go Mart Ball Park in Charleston. Bell time is 7 o'clock. Front row is $25, while general admission is $15. You can get your tickets at the box office at the ballpark or online at dirtybirdsbaseball.com. That was Booker and owner Tim Cross. Tim, thank you so much for coming on to the show.
Thanks you for having me. I really appreciate all the work you guys do. It helps us out a lot, and it doesn't go unnoticed from me. I can't speak for everybody, but I notice all the work you do, and I thank you.
And now, let's shift gears to On This Day in Wrestling History. June 15th, 1998, Monday Night Raw was held in San Antonio, Texas. In the main event of the show, Steve Austin and The Undertaker fought to a no contest against Kane and Mankind in the first ever tag team Hell in a Cell match. June 15th, 2004, on a taping of WWE SmackDown in Chicago, Illinois, The Dudley Boys, Bubba Ray and Devon, defeated Charlie Haas and Rico to become the WWE SmackDown Tag Team Champions. Later on, the same show, Rey Mysterio defeated Chavo Guerrero Sr., not Jr., but Sr.
Classic.
Yes, Chavo Classic, to win the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. And finally, June 15th, 2016, the taping of the TNA Impact Final Deletion match.
Delete!
Between Matt Hardy and Jeff Hardy took place at the Hardy compound in Cameron, North Carolina, with the match airing on July 5th. That was pretty much the start of the cinematic matches.
It wasn't the first ever, but it basically helped influence pandemic stuff.
It did, which is it's kind of crazy to think about that is 4 years removed from the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because when the pandemic came around, that's kind of, that was the inspiration everybody went with, was the Final Deletion. And, anyway. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some wrestling news and a couple other things. Stay tuned.
It's time for more of the Grill Out. Here's Hollywood Jeff Petty.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grill Out. I'm your host, Hollywood Jeff Petty. And we've had a tag.
Boom, morphed again.
Yeah. Jason tagged Josh in, our current reigning and defending Grill Out Predictions champion.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He is our current reigning and defending Grill Out Predictions champion.
How many times?
Are you 7?
7.
7 times.
Yep, lucky 7.
Yeah. Listen, at least you can get a defense in.
That's right.
I can't save my life.
Yeah.
NWA has finally announced where their weekly programming, Power, will go. Beginning Tuesday, July 29th, the National Wrestling Alliance Weekly's program, Power, will begin streaming for free on the Roku channel at 8 p.m. Eastern Time in the United States, Canada, and Mexico, putting it head-to-head against WWE's NXT, which airs in the U.S. on the CW.
Good look.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know where Power could have landed.
Yeah.
I really don't know where.
Yeah, I don't see them on an actual TV channel. No offense to them, but
no. I mean, there's I'm a poor person. I have Roku TV. There is actual channels on there, like Comedy Central. So, there's actually a channel on Roku TV for anybody that is interested that is dedicated exclusively to TNA.
Oh, yeah, I've seen it, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they call it now. They probably call it the TNA channel because it was the Impact channel. But, yeah, they play a lot of, old TNA matches, old NWA TNA, some Impact stuff, some current stuff. They're just kind of all over the place with that. There also used to be a channel was called the Pro Wrestling Channel, but it's not on there anymore. Yeah. But Power is going to go back on to Roku.
Yeah.
So that means there will be 2 destinations on Roku for professional wrestling. Also, one thing that we did not get a chance to talk about last week, WWE King and Queen of the Ring.
It's back.
This past week on Raw and SmackDown, the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments began with the first round matches for each consisting of 4 fatal 4-way matches. The winners of those will face off in the semifinals, and then the finals will be at Night of Champions on June 28th. Like last year, the winners will receive a World Championship match for their respective brands at SummerSlam. Thus far, Sami Zayn, Randy Orton, and Cody Rhodes have advanced to the semifinals for the King of the Ring, while Roxanne Perez, Jade Cargill, and Alexa Bliss have advanced in the Queen of the Ring. The remaining 2 first-round matches will take place on this week's Raw. The men's fatal 4-way will be between Bronson Reed, Rusev, Sheamus, and Jey Uso, while the women's will be between Ivy Nile, Raquel Rodriguez, Stephanie Vaquer, and a returning Asuka. All 4 semifinal matches will then take place on this week's SmackDown, with Sami Zayn facing Randy Orton, while Roxanne Perez will face Jade Cargill, with Cody Rhodes and Alexa Bliss facing the respective winners from the Fatal 4-Ways on Raw.
So I don't mind how they did this tournament. What I think they should have done better is had a Raw bracket and a SmackDown bracket, because how this is set up this year, there could be 2 Raw finalists facing each other. So,
yeah, I get that.
Yeah, I feel like the final should definitively be a Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah, but also they've really, correct me if I'm wrong, they have not been very hard line with the different brands, have they?
It's been a bit loose now where John Cena's popping up on both shows every now and then.
Yeah.
But for the most part, unless it's like a main event guy, they, for the most part, keep it separate.
Pretty firm on who is on whose show.
Yeah, but like last year's King and Queen of the Ring, they actually did do Raw bracket, SmackDown bracket, so the final was Raw versus SmackDown.
Yeah.
But like this, it's like, okay, if we get to the final and it's 2 Raw guys, we know we're guaranteed seeing a World Heavyweight Championship match at SummerSlam with that.
Yeah, it then becomes too telegraphed.
Yeah.
So no, I get that. That's kind of like when they well, not exactly like, but it gives the same vibe of when New Japan's G1 tournament went from 2 brackets to 4 brackets for really no good reason other than, we want to do that. I'm sure there was a good reason behind it, but I don't have that answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get from that.
The only thing I can think of is maybe Tripp has purposely set it up that way he can open up the other championship match for another story. But I don't know. We'll see.
Maybe. Or I don't know. Maybe it has something to do with John Cena.
Yeah.
Speaking of John Cena. Waboo-doo! On this past week's episode of WWE Raw, CM Punk confronted John Cena and challenged him to a match for the undisputed WWE Championship. Cena accepted, but only if the match happened at Night of Champions in Saudi Arabia, a country for which Punk has been very critical of in the past. Punk agreed, and the match was made official. I cannot say exactly what Punk said about Saudi Arabia on the air.
Yeah.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah.
But let's just say that in the past, he has been rather vocal against WWE doing shows in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
So much so that he has tweeted at certain superstars who have wrestled in Saudi Arabia.
Mm-hmm. And John Cena's trolled him.
Yes, John Cena's trolling him right now.
Yeah.
There was on SmackDown this past Friday night, he was basically talking about how, John Cena was talking about how he had to use, quote, like Punk's sociopathic tendencies or something against himself to prove to people that he's a hypocrite.
Yeah, yeah.
And then like, but then like you get to the point, it's like, are you guys saying that the Saudi shows are bad and that there's something morally wrong with some of it?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, hey, where are you going with this? Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge. I've never been a huge fan of the Saudi shows.
Yeah, I will say they're not as bad as like the first couple because they actually do mean something now compared to the original ones. But still,
yeah. I mean, there's also the underlying thing with them.
Yeah,
but
that's more so the country than the show itself.
Yeah, exactly. Like the shows themselves. Yes, you're right. The shows themselves have improved.
Yeah.
Because at first it was basically just like a glorified house show.
Yeah.
Is all it was. With the greatest Royal Rumble and whatnot. Yeah. And then as the years went on, they have gotten it to where they actually mean something. And now is this the second year they've had Night of Champions in Saudi?
Yeah, the first one was in 23. So.
Okay. All right. So I thought this was the second one.
Though interestingly, the King and Queen of the Ring tournaments have all been in Saudi Arabia the past 3, including this one.
Okay. So, like, all the finals have been in Saudi Arabia. That's interesting.
Speaking of that, like, kind of going on the whole Saudi thing, they have improved with the women, though, because originally they were just, like, in T-shirts and a black bodysuit, but now they have, like, a bodysuit that actually looks like ring gear.
Yeah. Instead of going out looking like they just have, like, the green, like... people use it for like green screen and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The bodysuits with like the green screen and all that. That's kind of what it looked like at first. Yeah. Now they have improved a little bit on that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also like they have like gradually gotten better content wise Because, I mean, those first couple were
Yeah.
a little on the rough side. I remember when they first started, and I was like, okay, I don't know how I feel about this.
Yeah.
I did watch the first couple begrudgingly, but
Yeah.
I did, and I was like, it's whatever. Had Aki Bono on there. So who cares?
Yeah.
But also, like, speaking of John Cena, who was attacked by Ron Killings.
Yeah, they're going to face each other on SmackDown this week.
They are.
Yeah.
Okay, crazy idea. What if John Cena drops the belt to Truth?
Book it, Trips.
Do it, you coward! We want truth.
Well, this one on SmackDown's a non-title match, so
Of course.
maybe later. But
I
yeah.
know, but that was one of the crazy ideas that was being thrown around. Was like, you know what? We don't want a John Cena heel turn anymore. We don't want the John Cena championship run. We want a Ron Killings championship run.
It would make him a Grand Slam.
It would. Okay, he's a former world champion anyway.
Yeah.
Why not make him a 3-time world champion?
Yeah.
Like, come on, Trips.
Mm-hmm.
What are you doing?
24/7, 7-Eleven, 13-14, European, Interstate, whatever.
54-time, 24/7 champion.
Yeah.
Ron Killings, who cut his hair as well.
Yeah. That aged him.
It did. Okay, I'm not going to lie. It did age him a little
Yeah.
bit. But he did, and I sent you and Jason, I think it was on Busted Open Radio, where he cut like a promo on, I can't remember who it was on, but he cut a promo on somebody, and it's like, it's definitely not PG. Again, we can't play it here.
Yeah.
But Ron Killings, a lot of people write him off as a comedy act because of his R-Truth gimmick. But let's be honest, Ron Killings can kill it on the mic when he wants to.
Yeah.
And I did put this up on Facebook about him. The range that people don't realize that he has are going to be surprised by this, and I think it's already showing how surprised some of them are by him, because most of them know him as R-Truth, the goofy guy, who says goofy, funny things and everything, which is one thing. But go back and listen to some of those old TNA promos that he did.
Yeah.
They were top tier, just cinema.
Yeah.
Speaking of cinema, new Netflix series, Tuesday Night Titans. Netflix.
Titan!
Now, we don't have a definitive date for this, so we don't have a confirmed date for the show, but it will be called Tuesday Night Titans, according to Deadline.com, which has a synopsis that goes as follows, quote, set in the spectacle-driven world of professional wrestling, Tuesday Night Titans follows a tenacious writer who risks his career in the big leagues to recruit her estranged childhood best friend, a jobber wrestler on the indies, to join the same behemoth company that they idolized in their youth. Their destinies become entangled as they battle personal demons, ruthless colleagues, and their complicated history in an industry where kayfabe, wrestling staged reality, isn't confined to the ring but bleeds into every aspect of their lives. End quote. Of course, the name Tuesday Night Titans was a weekly television show for the WWF at the time during the 80s. So it was like their weekly television show, pretty much. That sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
Like, to take it from the aspect... now, obviously, I believe that the way that this synopsis goes, this is going to be a company that sort of... It sounds very WWE-esque. They're probably not going to say that it's WWE, but she's a writer. She's... they're going to this behemoth company that they idolized as children. What behemoth wrestling company is there outside of that's not WWE? That doesn't involve like writers and stuff like that. I think I don't know. I don't know anything else past this. I know one of the producers, though. I don't know. I don't have his name wrote down. One of the producers is a former writer for Monday Night Raw. So there is already that connection back to WWE.
Yeah.
Plus, WWE already has the working relationship with Netflix. I'm sure they own the name Tuesday Night Titans. So maybe there was something.
Well, you can use, in media, you can use whichever names, as long as it's, I don't know. There's different media that has the exact same names.
That's true, but
there's multiple movies that have like that name or whatever, but they're different movies.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is like they may own that. Now there might be some working relationship where they're like, okay, certainly, because I think WWE, I think Netflix is doing a couple other shows for WWE.
I tell you what they need to do: renew Heels for a third season.
I agree.
Yeah, have you watched it?
I have not.
Do it.
It's on Showtime, right?
No, it's on Netflix.
Netflix. Oh, see,
it was on Stars, I believe it was.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was on.
And then Netflix got it, and they have the first 2 seasons on there.
Okay,
but it got canceled on Stars. So
okay,
it's like, come on, Netflix, renew it.
Yeah, when I mentioned this the other day to someone, and they were talking about it was Ivy. I was mentioning it to Ivy, and she was like, "It's crazy how big wrestling is."
Yeah,
I'm like, it is. It's wrestling's all over the place. Professional wrestling is anything and everything that you want to make it. I mean, we just had the interview with Tim Cross in the previous segment. Jason and I did, and he talked a little bit in there about how, like, with Real Shoot Wrestling, they're not a wrestling company, they're a wrestling experience.
Yeah.
And that's really what you get when you go to a wrestling show. Support local wrestling.
Yeah.
Like, for real. Support it. Go for it.
That's right.
Yes. Finally, last thing before we get to the main event, AEW Unified Championship. On the special summer blockbuster episode of AEW Dynamite this past week, it was revealed that the winner-takes-all match between Continental Champion Kazuchika Okada and International Champion Kenny Omega at All In on July 12th will in fact be a unification match to unify the 2 titles as the AEW Unify Championship. According to Fightful, AEW plans to book this as a top championship on par with the AEW World Championship and not as a mid-card title. Also, despite the Continental Championship being retired, the Continental Classic will still continue, although it has not been clarified on what the tournament winner will receive. The belt design is inspired by both the Continental and International belts, and it has unique outer side plates. The left one shows Omega performing the One-Winged Angel, while the right one shows Okada performing the Rainmaker. According to the Wrestling Observer, Tony Khan plans to keep the Omega and Okada side plates to commemorate the International and Continental titles and the legacy that Omega and Okada brought to the unification match. All right, belt expert, what do you think of it?
Terrible name.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the name.
Like you could use Unified in there, but like, what is it?
Yeah,
because like, okay, they did a unification with the tag title, the trios titles a while back, the AEW and ROH ones, and they actually call it the Unified World Trios Championship. So okay, you knew what it was. This is just Unified Championship. Unified of what?
That's true.
Like if it was, for example, you know, when MJF was the world champion and CM Punk there was the real world champion, I assumed they were going to lead to a unification match there. If they had called that the AEW Unified Championship, that would have been fine. You would have known what that was.
Yeah.
But this is like, what is it?
That's true.
Like let's say a year or two from now they keep this name. How do you explain that to someone of what exactly this is in the rankings?
That's true. Which I'm not surprised that they did not go with Intercontinental, even though it was right there.
So I found out apparently WWE trademarked Intercontinental Championship.
Really?
Yeah, back in 2020.
You know, see, I wonder how that plays out internationally.
Well, that may have been why Japan retired theirs.
That's what I was getting ready to say, because that's around the time that they did change. They retired their Intercontinental Championship.
Yeah, they did the following year. So
yeah, that's when they had no. Wait a minute. Hold on. I thought it was 2020.
Yeah, they might have done the unification match itself in 2020, but they did the actual like retirement of it in 21.
Okay.
Where they actually merged it with the heavyweight to create the world heavyweight.
Yeah, okay, yeah, because that was around the time Omega was leaving, and he had the belt, dropped the heavyweight title to he dropped the heavyweight title to Tanahashi. Tanahashi dropped the belt to Naito. Naito then dropped it to Kota Ibushi, I think. Yeah, I think that's right. No. I'm wrong on that. It was, I think it was in 2020. And then when Kodo won it in 2021, that's when they retired it and came out with the world title. That's what it was. So that may play into it. I didn't know that they trademarked that.
I didn't know it until someone had posted about it.
Oh, wow.
Okay. I saw a random comment pop up. They should have called it the Imperial Championship. Like, that's a really good name.
Wow. That is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That would have worked out really well, I think.
If they still want to keep the unified name, like maybe call it the Unified Imperial Championship.
Yeah.
Then after a while, just drop Unify. Just keep it on there for a little bit to kind of show that they're unified and drop it eventually.
Yeah.
That sounds like a really good name.
It does.
You heard it here first, folks.
I don't remember who commented that, but yeah.
Good on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good on them. That's a fantastic name.
Could have also went Continental. That would have been weird, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah. I've heard worse.
Yeah, global.
I'm sorry. The IWGP Global Championship it's lame.
Yeah.
They should have never got rid of the U.S. heavyweight title.
Yeah.
If anything, they should have renamed it or something. I don't know. The belt was beautiful. They did not give it time to have a long lineage, and it just, But also, I still disagree with them getting rid of the heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Just because of the lineage that it had. But
they should have just renamed it.
They should have kept the lineage going.
Yeah.
If they wanted to rename it, fine. Now it's a world title. Now it's considered a world title, but it keeps the lineage of the heavyweight title.
Yeah.
Because, that's kind of how it was treated anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway. Let's shift gears to the main event.
It looks like all the talking has been done. It's time for the main event.
Welcome to the main event, where we go ahead and let you know what your upcoming week of professional wrestling is going to look like internationally, nationally, and, of course, locally. Wednesday, June 18th, AEW Grand Slam Mexico, a special episode of Dynamite co-produced with CMLL. This will have a special runtime of 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It will also be taking place live from Arena Mexico.
Yes. And Mercedes Moné will be the first woman to have done a match in Madison Square Garden, New York, the Tokyo Dome in Japan, Arena Mexico in Mexico, and then there was one other one. Wembley, yes.
In the UK.
Yes.
All of those fantastic arenas.
Yeah.
Fantastic wrestling venues. Friday, June 20th, Game Changer Wrestling has a show in Little Rock. CMLL and NJBW Fantastica Mania, Mexico. And then Saturday, June 21st, Stardom The Conversion. Sunday, June 22nd, Revolution Pro Wrestling overseas in London will hold Revolution Rumble. And then finally, for international and national, Game Changer Wrestling Take a Picture will take place on Sunday, June 22nd.
Take a picture, it'll last longer.
Yep. Locally, on Tuesday, June 17th, Micro Wrestling Federation will be in Worthington, West Virginia at the Gold Rush Bar and Grill. Bell time is 7 o'clock, and tickets start at $24.99, but this show is ages 18 and up. So 18 and up can go there.
No kids.
Nope. No children. On Friday, June 20th, All-Star Wrestling will present
Coal Fest Chaos
as part of the West Virginia Coal Festival held on Main Street in downtown Madison. This is a free event with a bell time of 5 o'clock. The rest of these are on Saturday, June 21st. Atlantic Terror Championship Wrestling presents
Breaking Point
at the Leetown Community Center in Carneysville, West Virginia. Bell time is 7 o'clock. Front row is $15, and general admission is $12. World Domination Wrestling Alliance will be in action for
Over the Top
at the Berkeley County Youth Fairgrounds in Martinsburg, West Virginia, which will feature a 30-man Rumble match. Bell time is 6:15 p.m., and tickets are $20. Shout out to Top Notch Wrestling Alliance, which primarily does shows in New Haven, West Virginia, as on Saturday they will be traveling to Middleport, Ohio to present
Free For All.
Best of luck to the wrestlers of TWA and Safe Travels. And as we talked about in the previous interview with their owner and booker, Tim Cross, Real Shoot Wrestling will make its long-awaited return to Charleston, West Virginia on Saturday, presenting
Grand Slam
at the Go Mart Ball Park. Bell time is 7 o'clock, and ringside tickets are $25. while general admission is $15, and this event will feature the inaugural RSW Hall of Fame induction ceremony, to which, again, we talked to Tim Cross about that in the previous.
We did very wonderful. I'm glad I got to ask some amazing questions. I know I'm not always that loud, but it came through.
We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to wrap things up.
Once again, here's Hollywood Jeff Petty.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Grill Out. I'm your host, Hollywood Jeff Petty. I'm joined with our current reigning and defending Grill Out Predictions champion, Josh Cole. Baby!
Boom, morphed again.
Yeah. Real quick, before we close everything out, we forgot to mention that this last week, but Mariah May debuted in NXT, retaining her glamour nickname from AEW. And on this past week's NXT, her WWE name was revealed as Blake Monroe.
All right, Balake.
Balake. Coming for you, AA Ron. I feel sorry for Pittsburgh Steelers fans right now. I'm sorry for your AA Ron.
Yeah.
Blake is a tribute to her niece, whose name is Blake, while Monroe, of course, is for the Hollywood icon Marilyn Monroe. Not Balake, but Blake. The vignette of Blake Monroe was also very much inspired by Sabrina Carpenter.
Yeah.
And also on this past week's episode of WWE Raw, Gunther defeated Jey Uso to win back the World Heavyweight Championship, becoming the only two-time holder for the title.
Setting up a match with Goldberg, apparently.
Yeah, apparently that's what it is. And that's going to do it for us, ladies and gentlemen. You can email us, thegrillout95.
That's right, Balake.
Blake Monroe. You can email us, thegrillout95@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/thegrillout. You can also follow us on Blue Sky at thegrillout.bsky.social. And until next time, fellow wrestling fans,
once again,
have a good one.
Goodbye. And good night, back.
Having a life scholarship and being able to afford to go to college made me feel inspired to go.
When I got a life scholarship, it was such a relief.
I knew that I wanted to have an impact. Having a life scholarship through the SC Education Lottery was huge. It gave me the opportunity to make that impact right here at home.
The South Carolina Education Lottery. A better you, a better us, a better South Carolina. Visit sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino.
No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21 plus. Terms and conditions apply.